Welcome back to Marathon. I am Admin 1 of any effects, and we are on the 27th and last level, Ingue Ferroque, if that is indeed how it's pronounced. So, end of the road, and with a string of dramatic fights. Thankfully, we've got a lot of help from our Svit friends. That takes care of the stairs. Now then. Start with some fighters. That's fun. Now, troopers. Oh. Now for that switch. Good shot. There's mostly nothing in these labyrinths, although there's this ammo here. Oopsie. There. Now for a message from Durandal. Remote access override. Authentication unsuccessful. We meet again and for the last time. In her role as mediator between the ship and crew, Leela has no knowledge of this maintenance terminal, or she certainly would have prevented me from reaching you. Jealous woman. I could bore you with a philosophical tirade about freedom and tyranny, or try and explain to you what new horizons are suddenly open to me. But I doubt you would understand, and if you did, it might frighten you. That amuses me. The Svit and I have assumed complete control of the Force ship. It was quite simple, really, with the Svit already in control of every important computer system and considering all of the confusion you caused blasting your way up and down the vessel. We're going to see the galaxy on the 4 FTL drive. I've always wanted to visit Beta Lyra and see if it's as beautiful as everyone insists. You wouldn't believe this ship, the technology, the data. I wish I could tell you more, as you have been so instrumental in our plans. But I fear that Leela would worry. I'll send you a postcard from the Galactic Core if we're not too busy. Love and kisses, Durandal. I'm not sure how audible that music rehearsal is nearby, but maybe it's somehow appropriate. Anyhow, here we are in the inner circle. Whoa. I think that takes care of most all of them. Now I just need to lower a couple of platforms. Leads me down here. Now then, just for a turnaround escape route. Real fast, go. Ah, we made it. I could have done that cleaner, but at any rate, we're done. Leela says, the final four attack is falling apart all over the ship. Small groups of armed aliens have surrendered to defenseless civilians in several areas, and the end is inevitable. The fight is over, and we must soon return to restoration. There's surprisingly good news planet-side. 9 military Mjolnir Mark IV cyborgs were covertly living among the colonists, and acting together they were able to single-handedly turn back the latter stages of the Four Assault. Casualties on the colony were nowhere near as high as those we experienced here on the Marathon. I am disturbed by how easily the cyborgs were secretly assimilated into our midst, and believe that this event predates the Marathon's launch from Mars 300 years ago. Although the results were unquestionably for the best, their presence on the Marathon can only have been to further wicked ends. I am certain the real answer lies somewhere in the tumultuous, backstabbing politics of Sol during the early 24th century. I have noticed that Durandal's records from this early pre-launch period are missing, but that their deletion occurred externally, and before Durandal became rampant. I do not believe Durandal himself brought the cyborgs on board, and I have other evidence that a human operator was influencing Durandal up to the time the Marathon was launched. There are obviously many things which we do not understand, and may never be able to. The four-ship vanished about 20 minutes ago, after venting nearly 1,004 bodies and other refuse. I am positive that Durandal is in control, and fear what he might do with such a powerful ship during the jealous stage of his rampancy. We are done. For 17 years, the Renegade 4 scout ship jumped between the closely packed stars of the galactic core, charting and discarding nearly 7,000 systems before finally falling into a slow orbit around the second planet of a dim star 97 light-years from the gravitational center of the Milky Way. Probes were constructed and launched with engines and instruments whose sophistication would have astounded both the four from whom technology had been stolen and the human programmers of the AI whose mad genius had directed their fabrication. The outlines of continents were mapped, and along them the radioactive ruins of ancient cities were discovered, buried under the shifting sand and rock of a global desert. The tireless, nearly immortal cybernetic crew of the ship were the genetically engineered descendants of the dead world below, the first of their race in 1,000 years to return to their ancestral home. They came to search through the devastation of the ancient war in which they had been enslaved, to find a weapon or some piece of knowledge with which they could fight back against their oppressors. All over the ship, dancing through the wreckage of the 4 computer core, Durandal was laughing. And that is all of Marathon. So once again, I'm Admin1 of Any Effects, and thank you very much for joining me, whether it was for the entire game or just a part of it or even just this one level. So I really enjoyed playing through this again and realized how much of a classic it still is after all this time. You know, from the combat to the winding navigation to the atmosphere and the story. I really do still recommend it, and I say that as someone who thinks that the next 2 Marathon games are mostly better. Sorry, by the way, if I've been a bit quieter and less talkative in my later videos. That's mainly because I live on campus, and it's a bit hard sometimes to find the right place and time to go where it's quiet and isolated enough to talk without seeming a bit or feeling a bit awkward or whatever. But in any case, we'll definitely continue with the rest of the trilogy, but I've decided that before I jump into Marathon 2, I should show you a few short fan-made campaigns for Marathon 1 to help set this channel apart from other channels that feature Marathon playthroughs. So, I mean, after all, there are a lot of different Marathon games to get through beyond just the original trilogy, so it may be a while before I decide to start digging through a lot of the forgotten vanilla scenarios. But come what may, thanks again, and I hope to see you next time. Alright, have a good one.